Alright, you guys, we're going to do a Dead by Daylight perk tier list. And I figured rather than explain individually and just try to do it as I'm thinking and put it up here, we're just going to go over the basis for most of these perks right here. So we've got the S tier, which is going to be on most killer builds. You're usually going to see one of these perks generally. You could argue barbecue and chili could also be up here, but we'll talk about in a second. A is also kind of the same thing. So the S pretty much is going to give you the best potential and just the best of that type of perk, whether it's slowdown or information and stuff. A is really close. I think there could be some that's in A, so I'm going to explain that. B is situational. You're going to see these perks sometimes and whatnot. Oh, excuse me. So it's not going to be too much of a crazy thing. C is just kind of gimmicky, not enough synergy with perks and killer powers. Stuff like that, kind of like handicap perks or crutch perks, like actual crutch perks, not what community says, where it's like, oh, you need that perk, it's automatically a crutch, because any perk you bring into a trial is a crutch perk because you are relying on that perk. So, but actual perks that are for people that are new to the game, that don't all have all the perks, or just need or are trying to maybe just test out some gimmicky builds. But we're gonna jump right into it. So if you look at the D tier, I believe so. I get Shadowborn and Lightborn mixed up, and I probably should have done this before, but whichever one's Shadowborn, and I'm gonna say I think this is Shadowborn. I really do. I'm pretty sure when I see nurses play, when I use Shadowborn on nurse stats. So either or, Shadowborn it's in C. Good for it's not as good on like a bunch of killers. Really good for nurse, pretty decent for Oni and stuff like that. Anyone that's moving fast and benefits off of that wider field of view and whatnot. So um, D tier is going to be pretty much just gimmicky, useless. You can kind of do without as you move up as a killer and whatnot in ranks. Unrelenting, you shouldn't be missing stuff. The Beast of Prey, territorial, stuff like that. Decent tracking, but as you get better, you're going to see scratch marks. Same thing with Spies of the Shadows. You can see crows and stuff like that and whatnot. I'm not saying Spies is terrible, but it's just not as useful. Mad Grit, same thing. Cruel limits, just so any perk that relies on gens being done to work or stuff like that, or the objective, not good. Monster Shrine, not really anything. Probably the bottom. C and D is not going to be in order, by the way. B, A, and S are more in order. So these are just kind of like perks, like Billy and maybe Oni and Fury or whatever. Maybe Spirit and Nurse can make use of Tinkerer, but that's about it. There's just so limited. There's not a lot of leeway, and it requires a gen to be almost done basically. So by the time you get the notification, if you have to sprint across map or something like that, the gen's probably gonna pop or be close enough, right? You have no terror radius, but it's not good. Um, we'll talk a little bit right here in the C. We're just gonna leave the D out here. Leave the D out. Kikity. Um, so Insidious, gimmicky, Deerstalker, I believe, not good. Playthrough food, situational, certain builds work with it. Distressing, and further chase, gimmicky builds, rancor builds with like nemesis and stuff like that, or like make your choice nemesis. Callphobia, just very situational for certain powers and stuff. Not much synergy. Iron Maiden seems like a good inner strength counter, but at the same time, I think it's 15 seconds of exposed. Not that great. For Huntress, it's good though. Not too bad. But again, super situational. The presence, just these, there's not much to say. Just look at him. You're probably not gonna like him. Franklin's very situational. If you see survivors with, 3 medkits and a flashlight, don't bring Franklin's. I do not care about Franklin's in that situation when I could just be having a perk that's like sloppy to make burn out their medkits faster. Like Franklin's, that's a whole perk slot that's just good for items. It's not helping me with chase. It's not slowing the game down. They might come back for their items. I don't care. Franklin's, if you see 3 survivors with flashlights, you should play in that lobby. Don't lobby dodge, please. Too many people lobby dodge at flashlights. I love it. That's 3 people. 3 people with flashlights means that no one is trying to do gens most of the time, okay? Even at red ranks, that's just how it works. Now we're going to talk about Rancor here. Super situational, kind of gimmicky with some builds. Not that great. Lets you see the obsession, yada yada. Dying Light, it's a win more perk. If you're getting it takes like 4 or 5 hooks to start really putting pressure. It pretty much protects the obsession and gives the obsession bonuses and stuff. It's not fun. It's not good. By the time you get this working, you should already be winning the game. Fire Up, same thing. Relies on too many objectives. It's okay with stuff like Brutal maybe or like in-game late builds, but that's not really good anymore. Just because Ruin's kind of the post-Ruin meta is kind of fast, pretty fast. to be honest. So Huntress Lullaby, if they would just remove knowing that Huntress Lullaby is active before you even activate it or whatever, or just make it to where it just doesn't tell you at all, like it's a lullaby, right? Like I feel like being ineffective a Huntress's Lullaby should like put you like give you like oblivious, like you just don't know it's there. You're getting these delayed skill checks, and then when you get them delayed, you're like, okay, they have it. But no, behavior's dumb. They're not going to do that. If they made that change, we put it in B up here somewhere. But for now, it's going to stay here. Remember Me requires hitting the obsession. Relies on late game. I don't know how good it is, to be honest. I mean, like if I'm using this perk, it's probably not for good reason. Like it just feels gimmicky, not as good. Bloodborne, same thing, kind of gimmicky. Like you can do an in-game build and whatnot and have fun with it, or apply enough pressure in an in-game build, maybe, and you're generally going to be running it with no ed. There's not too many synergies, right? So, I believe this was Bamboozle. I got Bamboozle and Spirit Fury mixed up when I was making this list, but if this is Spirit Fury for whatever reason, which it shouldn't be because that's a vault, just pretend it's Bamboozle, which I think it is. So, Bamboozle, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to vault windows most of the time. Cutting off Shack window with Bamboozle, sure, it's great for the first time. Like, you get hit with that, you're kind of like, oh, okay. So, I'm going to get hit here. So, but, and you can force a pallet throw, but at the same time, not a lot of killers need it. Billy doesn't really need it. Clown probably needs it more than anybody, but a lot of killers have powers where they can mind game better or ignore these types of vaults. I mean, Freddy has a snares, Ghostface has stealth, Wraith can kind of body block. Wraith with Bamboozle, not too bad, but I mean, there's so many perks you could be running better with Wraith. I believe this is one of the new perks or whatever. I forget what it was. I think it was the one where you have to do something with the obsession or whatever. And I forget what it was. If you like hook 'em or do something, it's weird. I didn't like it, but I just put it in C for now because I actually put Deathslinger's 2 perks up here, and we all know that a killer cannot have 3 perks in the B tier, which I consider semi-situational, semi-good. Thrill of the Hunt doesn't matter anymore. Totem build's kind of dead, pointless. It's more annoying than anything. Even when totem builds were a thing, it was like, 2 survivors just tapping totems and they walk away, just hee. It's basically going to be what Red Herring is now that they get that perk. So now we're going to move into B, and these are more in order, right? So Knockout, very situational. Good for slugging. If you catch someone out of position, it's really good. It can be used in some builds or whatever to kind of just slow the game down. Survivors that aren't on comms suffer extremely. Survivors that aren't on comms are in trouble with this perk. This is just such a good perk for getting people down and against that. But if you're survival with friends, even then sometimes it's hard to explain where you're at. But people generally can communicate. It's situational. You can run Knockout to be kind of gimmicky, but Bitter Murmur, no more survivors are very situational. It's okay. It's not bad. Not a lot of synergies with it. It just feels like a less power Rancor, and like I said, it relies on gens being done, so I don't really like perks that do that as a killer. Iron Grasp, good if you want to run it with things that involve basement builds, or if the new Sabo becomes a thing, the Wiggling, if people are bringing Boil over, or Breakout, it's going to be good. But I don't think, I don't know, I don't think it'll be that good even with Sabo. Excuse me, I'm taking some drink. I believe this is the Hex Retribution. A lot of synergies with this. Good with Haunted Grounds for sure. Definitely a good combo. Could be a fun perk. I don't know how it's going to be. I like that they're trying to give negatives to cleansing totems and whatnot, so we'll see how that goes. But Gearhead was another one that's kind of situational, where I believe it's if you... Or maybe Gearhead. Is Gearhead the one where you hook the obsession? What perk am I missing right now, dudes? Here, let's do this real quick, because I feel like I can't just do this without looking at that. Because I thought I had it memorized. So let me look at this, because I might have those mixed up, and if I do, this is not good. Alright, so we'll do that. We'll stop being lazy, you guys. We're going to produce high quality. So, Chains of Hate, Bobby Bloop. Off the record, Boogaloo. Gearhead. Okay, no, yeah, so Gearhead, you hit a survivor twice, activates, and each time the survivor gets a good or great skill check, the gen will be highlighted by yellow as long as it's being repaired. That is shit. That's going to C tier. Fuck that. That is awful. Thought it was totally something different. Okay, hooking so Dead Man Switch, hooking the survivor. So Dead Man Switch, that'll be that one. After you hook them, activates 35 seconds. Why are we doing 35 seconds for all this ability? It's so stupid. Any survivor stops preparing before it's fully prepared, blah, blah, blah. It'll activate. Requires you to hook up the obsession, goes out of the way. About any other, you can't run any other obsession perks with it pretty much because Dying Light, play with your food. Or not play with your food, Dying Light. Yeah, play with food. So Dying Light, play with your food. Save the best for last. All get shot on by that. So that's trash. We're putting that down there. I lied. Those perks are not good. Well, actually, that's retribution, right? We'll put retribution. We'll make that situational. That can be like right up here, right? Actually, you know what? I would rather run it than that. So anyway, we're gonna get back into this. Devour Hope, very situational. It's good when it works. I've noticed that a lot of killers are getting Devour Hope off of me more often than not. Because there's no, ruin. People aren't really cleansing ruin. I'm going through games where they're not cleansing haunted grounds too. So, but Devour just has like a lot of requirements. Getting away from the hook and trying not to have someone hook rush, which is really hard to do nowadays with borrowed time and some survivor friends. We're gonna jump into Spirit Fury. Spirit Fury would be higher if this was a combo list right here. Spirit Fury and Enduring could be like right up here in the S tier together, but it's not. We're gonna leave right here. Spirit Fury alone is okay. It's decent. Good with other perks like Brutal Strength and stuff, but I don't think it reaches its full power there. I think there's a lot of killers that don't need to get hit by pallets, don't have to rely on breaking pallets to get that hit. It's still a good perk. Situational, like I said, these aren't bad perks, you guys. B does not stand for bad. It stands for beyond bad, right? So they're good, they're decent. So we're gonna move on to Agitation. Agitation, great for basement play, good with Iron Grasp, might even be better for the Sabo stuff going on now. So really good with killers that have good basement play. Bubba, which I know y'all hate that because Bubba basement play is literally just standing in your face with a chainsaw and just stare at you with his big beautiful eyes. So him. Myers has okay basement play. Huntress is pretty good. Hag and Trapper are obviously superior basement play. But Demogorgon to an extent. Demogorgon will make your choice in the basement pretty good too. So Agitation, pretty good. Situational though, and and now with how fast the games are, but you kind of need something better. A lot of times you're avoiding the basement hook because you need to get to a certain gen or get close to a certain gen to kick it because you're probably running one of these, like Pop, and to slow this gen down. Make your choice. Same thing. Some limitations. Only some killers can benefit off of it. It can force certain survivors to play immersed, but it's 60. I think it's 60 or 50 seconds of exposed with a 60-second cooldown, something like that. Weird. I forget how it works. Maybe 40 seconds. But it does kind of keep. It can put a little bit of pressure. You have an injured survivor and one that might play immersed if you get lucky. I think it only works on certain killers. Some killers can't capitalize. Huntress is not going to capitalize as much off of it. Ghostface probably not going to capitalize much on it. Hag's good. Demogorgon, Billy, anyone that can get across the map pretty well. Nurse to an extent, but it's really hard to blink all the way back over there without the blink add-ons, depending on what the map is, and without like Shadowborn or something to give you that extra field of view so you can get an idea. You can go gimmicky with it with Nemesis and stuff like that, or Infernal Chase to kind of like switch your obsession to get them oblivious, stuff like that. Blood Echo, I think it's a really good perk. I think Blood Echo is really solid. Good with like Plague and kind of Legion to an extent, or if you're just snowballing teams with like Sloppy Butcher, and or if you're Oni, stuff like that. Blood Echo really good. Did I just skip over Nemesis? I skipped over. No, I skipped over. Oh god, I skipped over a bunch. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Blood Echo, pretty decent. I'm really enjoying that. I love it. Especially on Plague, but it's very situational. It just depends on your play style and how much pressure you can apply and your other perks, but it does have overall good synergy. We're going to Strider, pretty good. Counters Iron Wheel, really strong on certain killers like Spirit and other killers that want to be able to hear better if you have a good headset. That's the point. I like Strider, but I don't think it's like just this crazy perk I'm running on all my killers. I want more. Yeah, so many killers have different play styles, and not too many killers benefit completely off of this, but. So we're jumping to Overcharge situational. I run it on Myers sometimes. I run it in certain builds. You can combo it with Huntress Lullaby, I found out, which is why there was if you saw the beginning, there was like a tab for Huntress Lullaby up here. So Overcharge, pretty decent. Survivors see it coming though. They can hit it, but you run a chance of them missing, right? Like it just depends on what you're doing. Pop Goes Louise with Overcharge, pretty dope. I like it. So yeah, with that being said, Overcharge kind of your situational. Just depends on what you're doing. Not sure if Doctor's reverse skill checks will actually ever make Overcharge backwards. I'm pretty sure it's not. I don't know. Which that might actually work, but even the add-ons he has that do make him go backwards aren't guaranteed to go backwards. Oh, excuse me. And you waste your time. You have to go out of your way to kick a lot of gens. So that's another thing. Nemesis, pretty good gimmicky. It's nice for It's actually nice for killers like Ghostface when you don't have the stick recovery add-ons, or you're out of your power and you get stunned, and then you have your power back up eventually too. Just depends on your playstyle. Nemesis can be really good for certain killers and certain builds. I actually rather enjoy that perk. I do think that's a pretty decent perk. I'm glad they came out with that. It's not like crazy strong, situational. Same thing with Haunted Grounds. Haunted Grounds usually requires you to drop whatever chase you're in if that survivor's injured. If you have an injured survivor and Haunted Grounds pops, you need to go find someone who's healthy. You had pressure on that injured survivor and they're off a gen. You need to go find someone who's healthy. You have to make this perk last. You can't just down that person that you're chasing and hook them. If you down them, slug them. Go find whoever broke them. Get as much value off of this as you can. That is the number one problem with people with Haunted Grounds is it'll pop and they'll just keep chasing someone who's hurt. It's you're losing this perk for the rest of the game. You have to be able to make it work. It's situational. Survivors kind of can know when you have it once they don't see you have ruin or something. So it does require some synergy sometimes, unless you're running like corrupt and you force them to look around and maybe they're just like, oh, it's a totem. Could be Devour since Devour's popular. They'll cleanse it, but you need to be able to make use off of it. You need to drop that chase that you're in. Unless they're full health. If they're full health, that's good. You save a hit. But looking at it like that, Haunted Ground definitely important. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at there. Thanatophobia, not as good as it was. Really good on Plague, pretty decent on Legion, but Legion is still getting hit. Like after the Legion nerf with Sloppy Butcher not working on his frenzy and the what's it called? Oh freak. His mending time not being as long makes Thanatophobia kind of You can do stuff like Sloppy Butcher with Thanatophobia, slow the game down a little bit as well. So it's not terrible. That's why it's kind of high up here because these are like I said, these are perks that like if I see someone running, I'm not gonna be too mad. Like Bitter Murmur's probably. I mean, yeah, like these three are definitely the bottom here. Like Devour, sure. I'm not gonna base it off of potential because potential Devour is probably number one just for potential. Like assuming everything goes right. But I'm not a fan of those tier lists because not everything's gonna go right. I'm trying to factor in every situation. So Thanatophobia, pretty much anything involved with Thanatophobia and Sloppy can be pretty bypassed hard by Will Make It. And stuff like that. So you have to be careful. Inner Strength completely bypasses stuff, and that's a very popular perk. Most survival friends usually have two like kind of designated totem hunters that are going to be running Inner Strength at least on console. So that's good. Surge, or no, we skipped Ruin. Ruin is good, but you have to build around it quite a bit. Killer powers work pretty well with it. You just got to chase someone off a gen. If you have Ruin and you find someone in the open, it's not always good to chase them. I'd rather get as much value from Ruin because sometimes survivors will go look for it just to get rid of it. I've had games where I push people off gens and probably initially they probably thought they were going to be able to work through or not care about Ruin, and Ruin works a little bit, right? But I've also had games where I probably only had two games where they just work through Ruin and never cleanse it. Like you can work through Ruin better than ever. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. And so, but if you're running Discordance, pushing two people off a gen with Ruin, like it takes 44 seconds for two people to do a gen, so you get rid of all that progress there. And honestly, that's what was great about the last Ruin. It didn't matter that Ruin lasted maybe a minute sometimes or got destroyed. It didn't matter because if you were playing solo queue with a random or you had even survived with friends, two people weren't getting on a gen. Let's just double the Ruin skill checks, and on console, the frame drop is bad. On PC players, PC players should never ever get a say on how annoying Ruin is. Ever since I played the PTB and started playing Dead by Daylight occasionally on my brother's PC, great skill checks are guaranteed. It is ridiculous how easy great skill checks are compared to consoles. So the only people that could ever complain about those is definitely consoles. It's a little wonky, but Surge really good on stealth killers. I like Surge. I think it's strong perk. Works really well with certain killers. Your ghost face and stuff. I wish they extended it to be a terror radius thing, which would make like distressing or some things like that better. Make monitor and abuse even better too. Like I want them to start buffing perks based on synergy. Kind of like make there more builds. Like there should be more builds that can equally slow down the game enough and apply and do kind of weird effects. Killers should have like different play styles, like completely different play styles. Not like not like in the sense of, all right, we got to play the slug on this map or play to zone them away from here, but like different builds that require kind of a consistency to do like and whatnot. Like I'll go into that in another video, but stuff like that. So surveillance, pretty chill, pretty good with ruin, pretty good with surge. I think it was. I think it works with surge, right? Might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it works with surge. Surveillance is okay though. It's not as good now, especially even with ruin. It's just you kind of have the information. You kind of know that if you chase two survivors off a gen, like, and you kick it, like, because you still have to kick it usually. But if you have ruin and you chase two survivors off, one of them's coming back probably. But surveillance is good, not that good. So we're gonna skip to the next one. Hangman's trick. So here's the thing. So my impression is they are going to nerf it. And for those of you that don't know what the Hangman's trick does, it reveals survivors within all hooks or whatever, or something like that when you pick someone up or something like that, right? Let's see. How fast can I find this? Let's see. Hangman's trick, deaths. We're gonna do Death Slinger and see if it just like has an update thing for it. Yeah, so it's not gonna show me, but so basically, yeah, like you already see videos right here, right? Like Hangman's trick is OP, godlike. Basically, Hangman's trick is going to right now currently, so in S tier. Whenever you pick up a down survivor, you see all survivor auras that are within certain meters of all hooks, which is the most amazing information ever. So many gens are close to hooks. So much. There's hooks everywhere. It is incredible how good Hangman's trick is right now, and they're gonna nerf it for sure. You know, that's just even as a killer main, as a killer main, I love this perk. If there was an SS class, this might be it because you get to. It's literally you pick up a down survivor and know where everyone's at. Oh, excuse me, just in case. So that what they're probably gonna do, what I'd assume they do, is it'll probably be see all survivors within like a certain range that you're in. So like, oh, see all survivors 16 meters around you near hooks, right? Rather than just see them everywhere, which would probably put this back in B tier. I think that's where I had it, right? Yeah, right here. Almost A tier because I don't know where it's gonna be. Controversial. No Ed. I don't run it. Think it's garbage. Same thing with Adrenaline. Don't run it on Survivor. It's not fun. I don't like Adrenaline plays like, oh yeah, it's cute. Like everyone's injured and then boom, pop last gen, haha, killer. You know, you're done. Like I don't enjoy it. I like being injured going in the end game. It makes it a little bit harder. I like getting hit with no ed and not cleansing totems the whole match to find out like, oh, he's got no ed. Now the game begins. Like it makes the game more fun. I think it does. I do get annoyed when killers that have one shot down potentials run it or whatever. But also, like, you know, a doctor that I played against, he had no ed. We rushed the hell out of these gens. Didn't do any totems. He hooked someone right next to his no ed, so it was kind of hard because he just camped it. But, you know, that's when it sucks. But as far as a perk and what it does, it relies on late game, sure. You know, and I know I said I hate that, but Fire Up isn't giving you, like, one-shot downs. Like, one-shot downs and you're faster. Survivors aren't cleansing totems too much, even though no ed's getting popular. I think so many things are getting kind of popular. We're kind of seeing where the meta's going, so people are kind of like, it's no ed, we'll work around it, or, you know, we'll just sacrifice one person and three of us leave, or whoever, how many's left. So, no ed's there. I don't like it as a killer. I'll not run it unless I'm memeing. Like, if I'm just playing Nurse and blinking behind the door with Insidious and waiting, you know, then I'll do that. Like, run no ed and Blood Warden, it's just so fun. But that being said, Brutal Strength, really good, solid. I like it better than Fire Up. No restrictions, no requirements. It doesn't let you pick up people faster or anything like that. But it does let you break stuff faster. Really good for killers that are trying to zone better, that are like 110 movement speed. I wouldn't run it on Spirit, but you could, and it kind of gets interesting, especially if you're baiting the phase and you like. A lot of times they'll go one way and then go the other, like backtrack their scratch marks. Okay, and then you're just, you know, you can just break it as soon as they go the one way. But it's really good with that. It speeds that up so you can keep them even more out of position and get that hit that you need. Brutal Strength's just really good. All your action speed's faster, kicking gens faster. Like, well, not action speed, but you're kicking gens faster. Stuff like that helps you apply better effects if you are running surveillance, stuff like that. You can't, because it's really hard to run things that involve kicking gens without running Brutal Strength. I think you need that. So yeah, it's just to save time. Every second adds up. If you kick what is it? When you kick 12 gens, what's that, like 2 seconds without brutal strength, I think. That's 24 seconds. That's 2468. That's 1/4 of a gen just about before skill checks or whatever. So it's a time management thing. Enduring, Spirit Fury by itself not that great. It's situational. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's really good too. Brutal strength, but enduring by itself still really good. Um, the delay on the stun obviously doesn't work on things like decisive anymore, but the delay on the stun in chase does help you like recover quite a bit more. Um, Especially if survivors just throw a pallet down and leave. I think enduring is fine by itself. Avoiding that long stun is really good. Synergy with other perks, I mean, it's just really good. It's really good with a lot of perks to get rid of that stun, especially if you're running enduring and brutal strength. I mean, but that saves you a lot of time. That's kind of why they're in the A. Like I know, I'm talking about synergies, and I did have this lower, and it could probably be up here. But there's so many killers that bypass breaking pallets, right? And when you bypass breaking pallets, it's kind of nice even if you get stunned. It's not a long delay, right? Or something like that. Or if they throw down a god pallet, right? And you want to break it easily, it's not. It's just better than having Spirit Fury, which the instant breaks it saves you a couple seconds, but without enduring and stuff. I just feel like enduring is just better. I could probably put Spirit Fury a little bit higher, but I'm just not big on it. I think I'm not a fan. I think it's very most killers benefit off enduring, not all benefit from Spirit Fury. So let's see. Let's see, Monitor and Abuse, really good on a lot of killers. Really good on Oni and Demogorgon because they are slow. Great on Oni. Oni needs first hit to start get his power going. Survivors will. I've seen survivors make noises by jumping in and out of a locker at a strong loop once they find out it's Oni, just to keep him out of his power because they'll be at a really good loop. So and they'll try to loop as long as they can. Organized teams do it all the time. I've done it before too. Like, okay, I will stay at the shack. I have a tile over here. I'll be ready to run to. See how he plays it on the first shack run. If he plays it a certain way, then I can find when I want to dip out. Something like that. Monitoring Abuse helps that with just the small reduction terror radius does help a lot. It really does, guys. Especially if you're running Infectious Fright, which is another perk that's really good. Because I believe Infectious Fright does count because I think you're still in chase even when you're downing them, and then the chase ends, right? So, excuse me, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Discordance, really good information. A lot of times when I run Discordance and I'm chasing a survivor and Discordance lights up, if I haven't got a first hit on the survivor or if that survivor is going to a strong tile, I now have more of an incentive to leave and get the pressure because I'm going to push two people off of a gen most likely, and that's really good. Good for killers like Legion, Oni, Plague, people that need setup, people that Myers that need to get stalks off. Just really good good overall information part. Once it gets later, survivors are grouping up more, especially if it's like a bad mount, like Mount Ormond, and you're applying decent pressure. You're not able to traverse too much, but you can get across. You're probably like Spirit or something, and it's like, okay, there's two people on a gen now, so. And that's usually what happens, right? It's good in the early game, and it's better in the late game, and then sometimes it happens in the mid game, just depending. Discordance has made my matches last quite a bit longer, which has helped the Gatekeeper emblem a little bit too. I'm all ears. Underrated perk. I think it's really good. Great for tracking and chase. Great for Ghostface. Great for mind games with any killer. Counter to quick and quiet too. I really enjoy seeing that perk. Just knowing which way the survivors are facing and whatnot, and you can play a mind game around that. And it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe because this perk on release or in the PTB when Ghostface is out was this. This perk was dog poo. It was just bad. Okay, this perk was like if a survivor does a rushed action outside of 48 meters, you get a notification or see their aura, something like that. Just so trash. Like how behavior makes killer perks is so weird to me sometimes, right? Survivor perks just seem so good, to be honest. Like, there's so many fun survivor perks you can run, and you can just do whatever you want with your builds. But as killers, you're kind of restricted to some of the better perks, right? You can meme if you get a good map or you're pretty good, jump scare mire stuff like that. But anyway, I'm all ears. Perfect information, great chase perk. There's a cooldown on it, but it can help you with some of the chases. It's really just good information while you're chasing. Barbecue and chili. Barbecue and chili not as good. I don't think it's good anymore. I think with the emergence of thrilling trimmers and pop and stuff like that, you're not relying on the information from barbecue. Thrilling is usually going to tell you what gen people are on because not a lot of people are going to know you have it at first, especially in the early games once you get that first down, and that's really what you're looking for. So, barbecue tells you when they're a certain range away. You can usually see people, but you're not guaranteed information. If everyone's in a locker or some people are close to you, if you get no auras, you don't have information. The only information you have is they're either in a locker across the map or in a locker somewhere or they're close, and that's just not a lot of information to go by. Thrilling, even if they let go of the gen, if you're running things like pop or something like that, you at least know where you're gonna go. And if even then, if they let go of a gen, and if it's a gen that you had seen earlier in the match when you were going by that was worked on, you know to go to it. So there's still consistency with information. There is a cooldown that isn't on barbecue, so that's kind of a thing, kind of a negative. But I still think that that barbecue's probably sitting right here, which isn't bad. It's in the A. These are in order again, so I know it was kind of weird. Like, would you rather run sloppy over barbecue? I'm looking at synergy, power, stuff like that. So Sloppy Butcher, that's a good one. Doesn't work a lot with Legion anymore, but it's still really good slowdown perk. Really good for killers. Like I said, like Legion, really good for Ghostface, Wraith. Anyone that can guarantee that first hit is probably really good on. Let's see. Sloppy's just a good slowdown. It gets bypassed a little bit by Will Make It and stuff, and inner strength is still a thing. So you kind of have to look out for that. But I think Sloppy's up there. I like it better than Thana. I think it's one of the better like slowdown. Like in its category, it's just better than what these perks are in their categories, right? Like I would probably take Sloppy over Ruin and just run Corrupt or something. So say the best for last. I underrated this perk. Used to not like it. Used to think it was weird and pointless until I started using it. And my goodness, on so many killers is it good. It's good for the Demogorgon Shred for some of Oni's abilities. For Huntress, I think Huntress. Does Huntress get by with this? I think Huntress does, right? Yeah. I think Huntress's hatches get around this. So just really good. The weapon cooldown stuff is just so solid, and you can manage it pretty well when you have an obsession. So save the best for last. 8 stacks is insane and keeps things going, and Chase keeps things consistent. Relies on you getting hits, but I mean, if you're not getting hits, then none of your perks are going to be good anyway, so that's not too much of a justification to say it should be lower. I think it's a pretty good meta perk right now. I think it's really solid for a lot of killers that are trying to apply pressure. Trapper, for example, needs a setup, loses a lot of early game pressure, a lot of setting up and stuff. So building stacks off of this is pretty good to recover from everything. So next we have Corrupt. I think Corrupt is solid. It can block off. It can force 3 gen strats to an extent if you protect the middle gen and kind of like, okay, y'all can do whatever, and then the farthest gens from you are closed, depending. Pretty consistent. The negatives are it can be weighted out. It's better for setup killers, to be honest. Depending, it's map dependent sometimes and spawn dependent RNG, but it's still really good at blocking off. Blocking off the gens, forcing survivors to come closer, and if they do work on a gen together, it's going to be discordance popped up. And, it sucks if they wait it out for 2 minutes, That's just kind of a survivor choice. Some good teams will just hide. If they have a map like the swamp and there's a murky region or just a swamp in general, you're all Claudettes, so we're just going to hide. So that's the restriction that it can have, but I think that 9 times out of 10 you are going to find someone or find someone on a gen, and that's just such good pressure because kicking someone off of 1 gen while 3 gens are blocked, that's 4 gens that can't be touched just for a little bit. I still think Corrupt is probably one of the best slowdown perks. It guarantees that you're going to get set up if you're a setup killer because Hag, Plague, Trapper, stuff like that. And if you're playing Ghostface, I mean, even playing Ghostface and Stealth, if they accidentally try to reveal you, you're gonna know where they're at. So you're in a good spot. Kind of same thing with Myers. It just depends. Like I said, people get hide quite a bit. If you're on the Sanctum of Wrath, I am very sorry. Do not run this perk. This perk is awful. But it just depends on the map and any Yamoka map, both of them, which is both of them. So not that good. That was one of my worst experiences as a killer. Was just like I think it was like a red rank group, and I actually just DC'd. I was like, I'm just not like I don't find immersion too good. Like, yeah, sure, people like I'm from the killer, but it's like, okay, like here's my perk. and everybody's just hiding in bushes, and my TV graphics make it really hard to see the what's it called, and I don't have the ability to lower it past a certain amount of pixels. So that's why I just get annoyed. So I'll admit, I straight up DC. I was like, I just can't do it. Like I can't play on a map I can't see on, and it just sucks to have your perk just get weighted out like that by people just hiding. So, but that's just my opinion. I know it sucks. I really don't like making survivors wait again, but to be honest, sometimes I deserve it. Anyway, Through Tremors, it's become like the new meta, and I actually used to hate this perk, but now I really love it in combination with Pop. So good. Love the information. As I said before, they can let go of the gen or whatever and stuff like that, but you can figure out what's going to happen, and you do get the what's it called, the 16-second block. So you end up with like maybe 8, 7, or 6 seconds to get over there before Tremors is up. I think they should lower the cooldown, and I really hate that these perks don't work with Ruin. Like, there's no point of making Ruin a late game perk and making it so bad and making like it just feels so bad early game. If something like applying pressure with Tremors doesn't, I hate that like entity blockers don't trigger the regression. I think it should. I mean, I think I don't get it. I do not get it at all. Like the entity is blocking it for me. Like what does corrupt do? It blocks it so people can't work on it, and you can get your stuff. So like this should block it, and then Ruin should do its work on it. Like I'm just like they get the devs get mad that killers are getting rewarded for not doing anything technically, even though we have to kind of like make sure our totem's not on the other side of the map, and if that is, we try to go over there and pretend like we're not going to our totem. Like, all right, let me peek over there to the corner, and then the survivors are like, "Oh, what are you doing over here?" And it's like, "Oh yeah," and then they find it. So like, I hate like that. That's their justification. Like, I don't get rewarded for downing and using Tremors on stuff to use my perk that should regress, but that's another story. It's just annoying. I'm a very salty killer main right now. And then we're gonna go to the top S tiers, and this might be a little weird to people because you would think probably barbecues up here, probably Tremors. I think these. First off, Infectious Fright really great with so many killers. Oni, Billy, um, Myers helps killers that camp snowball get free hits with stuff. If you're running sloppy, really good with like legions. I mean, just everyone can use it. So good. Calm Spirit's kind of coming back. Not much. I mean, I've had a couple people run Calm Spirit because all the doctors, but sure. Such a good information perk. I think you get a lot of pressure and snowball potential off of it. So, Infectious Fright, really good. I think it is up there. Um, Nothing's worse than playing against Myers in Tier 3 because I play as Myers in Tier 3 and I can tell that the survivors hate it when someone gets down. And boom, Infectious Fright, and it's like, oh, it's this kind of game. So, but you get a benefit off of that. I think Infectious Fright's great on those killers. I think it's good for information. Um, if survivors are nearby, if they're not nearby, they're probably on gens, so what you're a general area of what you're trying to do. Like if you can kind of pinpoint your terror radius, you can kind of figure out where the survivors are to an extent. That's why I love that perk. I think it's great. Whispers, amazing tracking perk. You need the first hit, you need that first chase, you need the first down. You need to be able to get that stuff going before these gens start popping. You start a game, assume every survivor is on a gen within 5 seconds of starting. Okay, and you use Whispers, and once you get used to the cone that's in front of you in the 32 meters, get people off the gen, get in that first chase. If you're playing Pig, Pig is amazing with this. Even Ghostface to an extent, if you want to play that. Ghostface, really good. Myers, really good. Just, all the killers benefit from it. Nurse to an extent. I don't like it on Nurse as much. Nurse bypasses a lot of the game mechanics, so like a lot of things aren't going to be as used on her. Billy, great. Huntress, amazing. Really good perk. Really good tracking perk. Unbeatable in in-game collapse. If it's one-on-one. And hatch is closed and there's no key, right? Unbeatable. You do not open the gates. And Whispers, absolutely incredible perk. Great tracking perk. Finding the first person. Knowing where people are. So good. Not as good on maps like the game and Hawkins to an extent. Really good. Nurses, amazing perk. Amazing on stealth killers. Stealth killers should always be running this. Amazing on Huntress. Decent on Billy. A lot of your top killers, just knowing when they're healing, where they're healing, if they have self-care. You find out really quick what kind of perks they are, what survivors are wasting the most time healing. You can choose kind of who you want to go with. People heal outside of my, near my Huntress, in the Huntress Lullaby radius all the time. It's ridiculous. Like, they are healing instantly to try to get to stop the pressure and kind of avoid getting snowballed, and I love it. Nurse is great information It's really, you gotta use it at tier 3 though. Tier 1 and 2 are kind of meh. Nurses, awesome perk, love it. And that leaves us with Pop Goes the Weasel, best perk, best gen regression perk in my opinion. 25%, amazing. You can use it with discharge, and they'll still get the discharge skill check if you get lucky. Just so many things you can do with it. There's nothing worse than having your gen just about done 80% and boom you're back down and it's regressing blah blah blah. Pop Goes the Weasel, incredible perk. Love the buff, love the consistency of it. It's amazing if you're snowballing and there's gens nearby. It's amazing in 3 gen situations if you can if you're getting downs. Love Pop. I think it's an amazing perk. Probably the best perk in the game right now. I honestly think that. There's no real counter to it other than do the gen, So it doesn't ever really feel useless unless you're you're only near a gen that has like 10%, which does feel bad. But fuck it, it's a power play. Just your gens you tapped it once and 2%. Hell yeah, bye. And then that's just what you do. So I think Pop Goes the Weasel. I think these are the best perks in the game right now. Definitely, I think so many killers just use them so well, and they make so many powers and synergies so strong. Nurses, Sloppy, Thanos, stuff like that. Even Nurses, Infectious, stuff like as well. Just being able to find the person who's one more down away from, or one more hit from going down. Trigger Infectious. So I like that. Yeah, and then Whispers and stuff. Like, obviously some of these are subjective, and if you disagree and you feel like a perk's better, we can discuss, we can talk about it. I mean, I generally feel like this is kind of where everything's at. These are not in order really as much, to be honest, down here. Remember that. S, A, and B are in order. And I know probably let's see, you could probably argue that some of these are definitely better. Like Spirit Fury, maybe Spirit Fury's like right here, Maybe Ruin's like the back of A tier, you can still benefit off of it. And again, Noed's only here. I'm not saying run Noed, I hate Noed, but Noed's only here because it is the best in-game perk. If you are playing for the in-game, because you just have to hope all your totems are there, and boom, I mean, one hit down, you get the extra haste movement speed. So I find that really good, and that's kind of where I'm at with all the killer perks. I think these are all really good, solid choices here. Like I said, these are more situational, require more specific combos. You're not just gonna run Hex Retribution by itself and run around, but you can run Ruin and some of these by itself, and it's fine, But like I said, and if they don't nerf Hangman's Trick, it's up here in the S. It is the best perk in the game. I feel like. I just feel there's just so many hooks, you guys. There's so many. So that being said, this is a list. Like I said, I can already tell that some people might be like, "Oh, Dying Light." Like I said, it's a win more perk, you guys. You're getting hooks. If you're making use of it, which is usually around 4 to 6 hooks, right, or something like that. Well, I'm not including the obsession because it protects the obsession and boosts the obsession. So you're boosting another survivor and their healing and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a win more if it's actually working, dude. It's if you've got like already so many hooks or whatever, you should be winning the game anyway. And at that point, you could probably just be having another perk that just helps you in chase. So this is a list. Feel free to comment what you disagree with. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna say Monster Shrine's probably S tier as well, so we'll probably put that up there. But yeah, so this is where I'm at, you guys. This is kind of how I feel about the perks right now, the situations. Gen speed's fast. There's a lot of slugging, which I don't like slugging, man, but it's what it is. I win more when I slug, so I guess I used to underestimate the pressure of it. I used to never really slug, so I underestimate a lot of the pressure of slugging. So, but if you're a killer looking to get these, and you ever want more explanations of kind of what the better synergies are, or certain builds and stuff that you can run with certain killers, which to be honest there isn't too many because you're probably gonna be running Pop and like Nurses or something like that, but pretty common perks or whatever. I'll probably try and test some other stuff, but this is a list, and I hope you guys like it. And I'll be coming out with like a survivor perk list, and we'll kind of go over that as well. So, but this is gonna be my killer list, and I appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all on the next video.